This is a special event. All of you, I think, sitting here know why. But I'd like to welcome His Excellency Agostinho Tavares, who is joining us today. And we salute the country, and we salute the work that my student Cisco has done. I'm just introducing His Excellency, the Ambassador of Angola, and I will pass on to our chairwoman, Professor Goffey, who will run the defense for 50 minutes. Okay, thank you, Professor Goffey.
I'd like to welcome everybody.
Bit louder.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the defense of Francisco dos Santos. And the title of the thesis is Resurrecting Luanda's Ghost City of
Musseques.
Thank you. So our internal examiner is Reverend M.Arch, so thank you for joining us. And external. Our internal is Architectural Young, and Roger Connor is the supervisor for the thesis. So you'll have about 15 minutes to present, and then we'll start the discussion.
Okay, I just want to start out by thanking everybody for being here, the critics, Mr. Ambassador, and my friends and family for being here. And as you can see, my topic is Resurrecting Luanda's Ghost Cities, City of Musseques. As the presentation goes in, I will explain the topic more. So I want to start my presentation with this quote by the United Nations. Slums are increasing rapidly in both the developing and developing world. It's estimated that 1 billion people worldwide live in slums. In 2003, the United Nations predicted that by the year 2050, 1 in 3 people in underdeveloped nations around the world will live in informal settlements. Countries such as Angola that live with such issues are struggling with such issues of slums, but in Angola, for instance, the Angolan government implemented a project that was meant to deal with these issues, which the project is called the Nova Cidade Kilambia Kiaxi Social Housing Project, which is known as Africa's Ghost Cities, because unfortunately, it's Africa's largest housing project, but it failed to meet the goals of the people. And I'll just start by playing a short video which will explain better the context of my topic.
A jaw-dropping development outside of Luanda, Angola. Row after row of high-rises, 20,000 apartments. And that's just phase 1.
Kilambia is based on a campaign promise. Before the 2008 elections, Angola's president pledged to the people 1 million homes for ordinary citizens. And Kilambia is an attempt to do that. They've built cities like this across the country, coming literally out of the bush. But from where I'm standing, Kilambia feels almost deserted.
4-lane highways without cars, schools with no pupils. In under 5 years, a Chinese company built Kilambia using Angola's oil credit lines with China. But parts of Kilambia feel like a ghost town.
Is Kilambia a vanity project?
Yes, maybe. We think that Kilambia is maybe a political project. The housing there is still very high in terms of cost, and I think there is a lot of difficulties to sell the apartments.
The government built Kilambia to try drive down prices. With petro-billions flowing into this former war-torn country, expats have poured into downtown Luanda, pushing prices to eye-watering levels. A shabby flat can cost you $4,000 a month. But in the shadow of some of Africa's most expensive real estate, the poorest are getting squeezed out. Most Angolans survive on less than $2 a day. Maria Matias works as a maid. She says life has gotten harder and the government hasn't helped provide jobs or housing.
When in school, we were always told that Angola was a very wealthy country with oil and diamonds. Now we see foreigners come in and take Angola's wealth instead of us getting opportunity or seeing the money.
That sentiment is a problem for long-time ruler José Eduardo dos Santos. Rights groups accuse the government of rampant corruption, which the government denies, and points to developments like Kilambia as an example of its commitment to the people.
Houses with no people doesn't solve the problem.
They are solving the problem because people are moving in. The idea was start the town in an area that you don't have any problem to relocate people, and from there you will develop all the things.
To start from complete scratch.
Complete.
Economists believe that Kilambia is aiming at the wrong end of the market. Entry-level apartments here run at $120,000 each, an amount most Angolans can't afford. The government has promised more low-cost housing, but Kilambia could become a $3.5 billion white elephant. Dan McKenzie, CNN, Luanda, Angola.
So now that you guys understand the issue that I'm trying to tackle, this was actually the video that led me to research, to use this topic as my research, for my research. And now that I've introduced the topic, I just want to put in context where the location of Luanda. I'm pretty sure most people don't know. And Luanda is a country located in the coastal region of Africa. It's bordered by the Republic of Congo, Zambia, and Namibia, and Atlantic Ocean on its west. And the issue of slums in Angola itself is an issue that's been around for generations and generations, starting from the times when the colonial people were in. And this is just a picture of the different districts and the different slums actually found within the context of Luanda. And this is the reality of Luanda today, that 1 out of 6 million inhabitants resided in Luanda, 4 million live in slums. So I really felt that this is an issue that at least I should attempt, that should be attempted in solving, even though I recognize that the government is doing a lot, but based on what has been seen from the Go City, one can ask the question, how much is being done and why are such projects as enormous as the Africa's Go City, which I'll start referring to the Nova Cidade, Kilambia Kiaxi, why did it fail? So pretty much my topic will analyze this aspect, and I will introduce an intervention that I thought was suitable for the project. And touching a bit on my personal prologue for this project, me myself, I was born during the time where slums were predominant, which was the time when the war in Angola. Angola is a country that underwent 27 years of civil war, and during those times, people were relocating themselves from different regions of the country and coming in the city of Luanda, which was a city that was built for only 700,000 people, and today has 6 million people. So now you can see that the difference in terms of numbers, why there's a housing deficit in Angola, and why the government is really striving to try and eliminate the housing deficit in order to give people living in such slums a better way of life. And actually, this is a slum where actually one of my sisters resides in. This is one of the newest slums within. It's also called the Zango slums, where it's located here. And Luanda's urbanized city core is located there. The Zango slums over here. And the government is trying to relocate people from the slums that are not allowing the city itself to grow outside of the city in order for them to allow the city to grow. And you can see the relation from the distance and the relation of the Nova Kilambia Kiaxi housing project. And this is just a zooming in within the Zango slum itself, which is actually a different satellite city that the government is implementing for the people. But within this satellite city, a new slum is actually rising. So this here are homes that are being built, but this is the slum where I took the picture. So these people are intended to occupy these houses someday, but it's been 3 or 4 years, I believe, that they've been residing within here. So that's my personal contact with the topic itself. And I want to start with asking this question: what is the Resurrecting Luanda's Ghost Cities, City of Musseques research thesis about? So this thesis is practically about implementing architectural intervention within the Nova Cidade Kilambia housing project, which is Africa's ghost city, first ghost city, as it's being called by international communities. And it's pretty much me studying the context of what's existing there, what's been placed there, in order to see what went wrong and how can I, as a future architect, can intervene in order to give slum dwellers a better way of life or a better housing option. So pretty much this is the Nova Cidade, the Kilambia housing project. This is 2 years ago when it was still being built, and this is it today. This is it today. It's a beautiful city, but the issue is nobody can inhabit it, because from what I saw, China designed the city for middle class, non-existent middle class in Luanda. In I would say Luanda or in Angola itself, because in Angola you're either rich or poor. People say there is a middle class, but based on my research, I don't believe there's a middle class, and I'll explain it more further. This is Angola, and this is just a map of Africa showing the countries that have the same issue of not having a middle class. And if you can read the quote that I placed there by David Smith, in Angola, for instance, a person making $4,000 to $5,000 a month is not considered middle class. Middle class, because the rent is so expensive, and they have to spend money on water and electricity. And for instance, a doctor and a lawyer and an economist, which in a country developers will be considered middle class or even upper class, but in Angola they're not considered middle class. Some can be considered in the upper class, but for the most part they're considered in the lower class. So questions and issues that might arise that I thought the Nova Cidade Kilambia Kiaxi raises within the question is, the urban question is, will me resurrecting the Nova Cidade Kilambia project allow for the growth and expansion of Luanda's urban core? I would say yes to that, because the main issue right now is that slums itself are surrounding Luanda's urban core, and this has been happening for generations and generations. This project itself, if it was successful, it will allow the government to relocate those people from the edge of this urbanized city in order to remove them and allow for the city to grow in a way that it should have grown, because it's a small city and it's been there since the colonial period, which was existing for more than 500 years, and Angola gained only its independence in 1975. The next question is the political question. Is the government of Angola doing enough in order to eliminate the housing deficit and preventing the growth of slum? Yes, they are doing enough. I say yes because after the signing of the peace agreement in April 4th, 2002, the government of Angola implemented a solution to this issue by commissioning 1 million homes for the people. And this project itself is found within one of those 1 million homes. So for that question, I say yes, they're doing enough. But are they doing it in a way that is happening in the period? That's the question that this thesis wants to answer. And the social question is, as a ghost city, does existing of the Nova Cidade Kiaxi project within the context of Luanda affect and impact the typical slum dwelling family? Yes. Because if you can imagine, for people that are struggling within a slum, passing by the city every day and knowing that that's a project that was intended for them, but today they cannot afford it because China as a country implemented a project for the middle class in a country that's middle class non-existent. This is a social issue because it can lead to people revolting against the government and asking the question, why is this happening when we need the infrastructure? The architectural question, which I divided into two, was the design of the satellite city, which was designed and constructed by the Chinese construction firm CITIC, appropriate to solve the issue of slums and housing deficit. And I say it wasn't appropriate because first, it didn't solve. Instead of solving the problem that it was intended for, it actually created a new problem. So I don't think I truly believe that for instance, I'll use this example. In the context of Canada, that project is an amazing project. But in the context of Luanda, it's a wrong project because it aims to a class that doesn't exist. And the next question would be, what can an architect as professional or as an agent do in order to help the Angolan government solve the existing problem of slums and housing deficit? This question is pretty much my thesis itself. That's where my intervention comes in place. How does this thesis intend to resurrect Luanda's ghost city and solve the issue of slums and housing deficit currently found in the city of Luanda? That's the question I wanna answer within this section. So this is just a study of the slums and the settlements within Angola. And you can see, for instance, if you focus on the urbanized center, which is located here, and you focus on the colors around it, there's no way it can grow without an intervention, and which is what the government is trying to do. But I truly believe that they're doing it in a way that can be better. And if you can see the numbers here of how many people live within this settlement, it's pretty much the entire population of Luanda that lives within the settlements that surround the city. Luanda intends to resurrect Ghost City by implementing affordable architectural intervention within the existing context of the satellite city that captures characteristics found in slums that can make the intervention relatable to slum dwellers. So pretty much I'm trying to do this in order by studying the dynamics of slums. How do they work? How do people live? And it's interesting that slums itself is a multifunctional living space, which in the morning is something, but at night is something else. For instance, in the morning it's a kitchen and place for the family to interact, but at night the same place is the bedroom where the family all lives. And this is just a small room. The next, I'm looking at the dynamics of an importance of community and gathering spaces within the slums, which are spaces for the community to interact and make decisions as a group. And the last aspect, which is this aspect of sustainability in slums. And I only looked at the aspect of the walkable aspect of slums. That I found it interesting, and these are the 3 points that the intervention itself are trying to capture. So now I'm gonna start by introducing the existing, by analyzing the Africa's first ghost city, the Nova Cidade Kilambia Kiaxi housing project. This is the project itself, and this is how big it is. It's pretty big. And as you can see, the project cost $3.5 billion US dollars. It was paid by the Chinese government in exchange of oil, and it's located 30 kilometers from Luanda's urbanized city core. And it spans 5,000 acres. It's divided into 3 phases, and they're supposed to have 710 apartment buildings, 20,000 apartment units, 6,000 single-family homes, schools for 43,000 students, and this pretty much is the project. This is the housing project that exists right now. This is the one that's being built right now, the single-family homes. Single-family homes will be located here, and these are all the apartment buildings. And this project is divided into 3 different districts. The town center district, the apartment district, which is what my project is focusing on, and the housing district, which is still being built. And that's a bit more information of there are 15 primary schools, 12 secondary schools, 39 children's centers throughout the project. It's a pretty vast project. And it has 1 hospital, 4 health centers, 4 police stations, 2 fire stations, and 100 retail units for rental. And the retail units are found within the town, within the center of the project. So now I'm focusing on the infrastructure of the project. The project has 3 different types of buildings. This is the first building, which is the smallest building. It's called the T3 apartment units, which is a 3-bedroom apartment. apartment units, and it's the smallest. And this apartment unit is priced at 130,000. The second one is a T3 plus den, it's 3-bedroom plus a den, and it's priced at 140,000. And this is the most important apartment because my intervention was placed within this building. It's the most expensive building. It's 13-story high, and its price is 200,000. And it's a 5-bedroom apartment plus a den. Why is the Resurrecting Africa's largest and most expensive social housing project important for the capital of the city of Angola? This is important because this project allows for better and improved housing options for those living in slums. It helps the government prevent and control slums growth and slums expansion, which allows the urbanized city to expand and grow. It allows for the elimination of the housing deficit that resulted from Angola enduring 27 years of civil war. What are the implications of the Nova Cidade Kilambia Kiaxi social housing projects? What are the implications of this project remaining as a ghost city? The implications, as we see before, we had 27 years of civil war. Today we have the peace. The implication is this project, if the people revolt, can lead the city of Angola or even the nation of Rwanda to go into social unrest, which might bring us back to where we are trying to avoid going, which is back to years of war. So therefore, my intervention is trying to focus on this. Forget the past, avoid going to social unrest, and maintain peace and try and preserve peace within Angola. And my intervention is called this Resurrecting Ghost City Intervention Project. And pretty much just this is the existing and proposed. And this is just a diagram that shows the problem itself, which is slum growth in the Nova Cidade Kiaxi, and the solution is Ghost City Resurrecting Intervention Project, which tries to resolve problems at high levels of poverty, lack of informal employment, and lack of housing. And on this side is trying to revitalize the Nova Cidade Kilambia Kiaxi housing project. The solution that I thought was appropriate was, it started off the government commissioning the project, which this is only focused on the T5 apartment building. Please just keep that in mind. So they're pretty much focusing on $2,000 apartment unit, which I intend to subdivide it into 3-bedroom units. So I'm dividing the price, the 200,000, and the unit area into a much manageable minimum, which can allow me to create minimal apartments, which resembles to what exists within slums. And from this, I truly believe that this was not enough for me to solve the problem. So I'm trying to implement, I call it the income generating strategy, which allows for people not only to move in, but yet afford to stay there. This not only allows for people to afford the apartment, it also allows for people to generate income within these units, which can be rented by the government and bringing back income to the government. Thus, instead of making only 200,000 for the apartment, the government actually makes more than 200,000 from the rent. So pretty much throughout, even though it can be an expensive intervention, but throughout the time, I think this can pay off for the intervention. So this is the project itself. So the intervention, I started off by looking at the entrances of the project. So this is the existing. They only has 2 entrances. In the proposed, I have 4 entrances, which resembles the study, which I did a study at the Kazenga slums, which shows the entrances of apartments. There's no order in how people enter their slum dwellings within a slum. So they pretty much enter in 4 corners. So it allowed me to create 2 axes of entrances, which is the residential axis and the commercial axis. These are commercial units, which I call them commercial towers, which is what this model here represents. Within the existing apartment units, this is just a study of the existing apartment units, which shows the space itself. Within the proposed, this image here shows how I subdivided the apartment units from the existing and the proposed. So I pretty much took key points from the existing, which allowed me to subdivide the apartment. So I have the green one is one apartment, the blue one is another apartment, and the red is one apartment, which is what these models represent. In terms of numbers, these charts only show how I subdivided in terms of apartment units, areas, the prices, numbers of apartment units I'll be providing by subdividing it, and the existing apartments will be providing within the apartment district. This is just an image showing showing the arrangement of the apartments within the context of the building. I actually enjoyed that image because it looks like the idea of a slum within the apartment too. And this is just the apartment units. So this apartment is the first apartment, which is the smallest apartment unit, and it's priced at $57,000, which I believe it's a manageable because it's a unit that transforms during the day. The bedrooms itself are tucked in. So I'm trying to look at the idea that no space is wasted, only usable space are maintained. So during the day, the living room space are available and the bedrooms are tucked in. And during the night, as the bedrooms expand and open, the living room is practically as small as it can be, and the bedroom spaces are open for people to inhabit. And this happens in all 3 apartments units. So the same idea goes here and here too. And this is the system of the wall system that I'm trying to implement, which is anchored from the ceiling that allows and moves with hydraulic system, opening and closing the doors, the beds, unfolding, and so on and so forth. And these are the existing entrance points of the entrance point of the existing plans, which are 4 apartments in each floor, and I'm proposing 12 apartments in each floor, 12 minimum apartments. And these are the entrances of the 12 minimum apartments, which resemble the idea of slums based on the study of the Kazenga slums that I used during my research. And the same idea of here, the access, the horizontal circulation within the existing, which allows people to move around, which goes back to the idea of walkable, the idea of slums being sustainable because it's a walkable community. So I'm trying to use the idea of people moving around within this plan in a way that they can access the commercial units and move around the project as if resembling the idea of slums. And this is a horizontal circulation of the existing, which has 2 elevators and 2 stair shafts. And this is the proposed, which I'm proposing 4 elevators, including the existing, and still maintaining the existing stair shaft. The community spaces, which I incorporated also, going back to how community space, gathering spaces are important in slums. And this is just another shot for the community space. And the income generating strategy, which are the commercial towers, a major point of this project, which is this model is here once again. And just pretty much showing the access of how people can access the building from the outside and from the inside. From the inside, the red is the inside and the outside is the public, general public. And this is where it's placed. It's actually placed in a 18-meter gap that's within the existing structures. And this is just the access, once again, talking about access. And why the income strategy? Because I'm trying to avoid the creation of this, which is the creation of vertical slums, because I believe that if the income generating strategy is not implemented within the projects, in a few years, I would say 10, 15 years, this will be the reality of the Kilambia Kiaxi housing project. And these are just fire exits, which I added 2 more fire exits. And it's just comparing the facades. So this is the facade with the commercial tower. This is the one with non-commercial tower, and just how you open space by creating double floor heights in the community gathering spaces within the building. And the concluding question is: does the proposed intervention allow for the resurrection of Luanda's ghost city, and can slum dwellers afford to inhabit it? So I want to conclude with this chart, which shows my intervention, government's initial strategy, and I'm just focusing once again on the building type 3, which is the 200,000, which with this price was calculated that for a slum dweller to afford living there would take, without the income generating strategy, well, it would take them 160 years to pay for this unit because they make less than $2 a day. And this is the strategy that actually was implemented at the beginning of this year. The government decided to lower the prices to see if people can afford moving there, even though people are going there, but still the issue of slum dwellers still making less than $2 a day. So these are the prices that I came up with by subdividing the 200,000 units, which are the 3 units there, which when calculated, it takes a slum dweller 30 to 40 years to pay for, which is much more realistic than what has been proposed by the Chinese. And once again, if an implementation is not provided, this will be the reality. even with the implementation that the government has put, I truly believe that this is where the project is heading to, because taking people from the slums and putting them in a building and not giving them a chance to afford paying for it, this is what they won't have money to maintain. They might have struggled to pay the rent, but if they can maintain the buildings, they can do it. This is where the reality, which is something that's existing in Angola, the existence of vertical slums, it's existing in Angola. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
So I guess we start to see if there is any question or clarifications before we get to discussion and some of our external stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if, a question that thank you for your presentation. Let me start with that. The accountability question looms large here, and the Chinese seem to be scapegoated here for having produced a project that is untenable, it's not workable. What I was looking for in the project was a sense of where the accountability lies now. Chinese company was hired to design and produce, paid for out of natural resources from Angola, so quid pro quo there. What kind of oversight did the government have for this project? And that's the part that confuses me. I wonder if you could just elaborate, just for 2 seconds, on the government's responsibility in its oversight for this project, because it seems that, unwittingly, a project was built that no one can use.
Perfect question. The oversight of this project was that, from what I've read and saw, the project started failing from the beginning, from the contract, which was the contract that government of Angola and China had, which allowed China to come and rebuild the country with their own workforce, with their own materials, so pretty much this was already stipulated in. So pretty much, I truly believe that once the contract was signed, the government had no more control. So pretty much Chinese could come and build what they wanted to build. And I truly believe that what happened here, they didn't really research, and they just took a project, and which might be suitable anywhere else in the world, and just placed it in the context of Angola, and that's why the project failed. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Yeah, I commend you on tackling a tough subject, and then also and to solve it with architecture, which is inspiring. So, clarification question. You talk about the migration pattern, general migration from rural to urban centers within Luanda. And then you just touched as well in the presentation on migration from the city center, from central business district to the periphery, where the slums are, where to the Musseques. So I'm wondering how you see this the solution, your intervention, how you see it becoming populated in terms of that migratory pattern, whether it's people from the slums or people from the city, or whether it matters. And then the other question of clarification is on the commercial units. I'd just to better understand how those work as far as the space, what sort of commercial enterprises are going on there.
In terms of the migratory aspect, I only focus on slum dwellers that pretty much are placed on the border of the urbanized core, which prevent the city to grow. And so the fact that the government is trying to take them from the city itself is, and place, even though 18 kilometers away from the city, today can see is too far away from the city because pretty much they just build houses there, but people still have to migrate to the city to work and do what they have to do. But this migratory, the way I see it, it's even though now it can be seen as yeah, it's too far, it makes no sense for people migrating, but it's a start in order to try and take people from slums and giving them a better housing option. And if that works, then it can allow the city that was built for 700,000, which today has 6 million people, to pretty much allow the city to grow, expand, and eliminate the housing deficit that exists within the city. And in terms of commercial question, which is within, just put it here. This is a commercial tower that goes up to 13 floors, and I have, within each floor has 2 commercial spaces, which is available for the number of people that inhabit it. And the way I see this being is people can, whichever commercial enterprise that they decide, because in a slum, for instance, people have small business in the front of their doors. So I'm trying to give them space. So if they already have that, which is a way of them, even though way of them making some sort of a living, by providing them space, they can either generate money to pay for the rent and to support their family. It can be a small office space, a small whatever it is. And within this commercial tower, I also try to incorporate the idea of spaces where the community can gather, gathering spaces. As they come, they can interact. So as they come up, this open space here, space for people, as they're coming in and they're resting, they can interact with each other, or they can come in and within the...
This is business and this would be common.
Yeah, it's common space, exactly. Exactly, that's the elevator shaft. And yeah, pretty much, yeah, the tower is so it's the same idea. The only difference is their floors are offset shift, as in this is the commercial unit here and this is the commercial unit there, just offset, and pretty much just that idea.
One question as well.
Yes.
So about the economy of the project.
Okay.
When you, I guess you are going from 1 to 3 units.
Yes.
And then you take the cost and I guess based on the square footage.
Yes.
Serving the current, the new price for
Yes.
the unit. If I understand correctly, you're using the original price?
Yes, I'm using the original price, yes.
And the reason is because they're trying to account for the extra cost of conversion?
No, I use the original price because I think lowering the price doesn't solve nothing. So I was trying, and plus when I started researching, that was the price that I started with. And when they changed the price, I was already trying to finish the project. I didn't think it would be suitable for me to try and change it and just... So I used the original price just in order to prove that it wasn't necessary to change the prices. Maybe there's a better way to solve. And I tried to prove it architecturally that is a better way. And the fact that the 200,000 takes a person 160 years to pay for it, changing the price from 200 to 165 doesn't solve the problem.
But I guess then the question is going to cost?
There is a cost. That's why I'm saying these units will be paid for by the government. But once the units comes in play and people want to establish their business, the government can use it as rental. And it might take 10, 20 years for the units itself to pay for the cost of the government. But what I was trying to prove was the 200,000. Leaving the 200,000 can allow people to inhabit the space. And these units can allow the government to generate the 200,000 plus. Yes, thank you.
Given the implications of the funding, the pricing differences, can you clarify a little bit how this would possibly go on? Because obviously you would need a phased development in this. We're talking. You're explaining a situation that's the ideal situation. Can you say something about how you would imagine this to be a workable solution within a phased situation in discussion with the architect as agent, as you said, but also what was missing in the Chinese, in other words, investment strategies and the government?
Well, good question. Let's see if I can handle this question. Well, I would say that going in and breaking brand new buildings might not be something that the government might allow it. The way I was seeing it is, for this to work, it would be interesting if they would build the idea from the beginning. Because going in there and breaking, it can be realistic because there's 700 buildings. They can just try and do it on one and see how it works.
Wouldn't that be also your responsibility?
Exactly. But for me to do that, I need a platform that allows me to do that. And hopefully, if this thesis generate conversation, who knows?
We can go to, sorry, so many interesting things.
There is. This has really captured the imagination, I think, of all of us here, and I keep getting moved, out of my academic stance, wanting to challenge you on some matters of form and such. So that's a very positive thing that you're able to draw us in so wonderfully, because you've captured my heart as well. This is a project that might indeed be a solution to what seems to be an intractable problem. You used the word resurrection. Now, that's a theological term, and I enjoyed that very much.
Surprise!
Being who I am, resurrection implies a coming back to life, but it assumes that there was life there before. I'm not hearing that there is a whole lot of life in the existing project, but I do see life in this. Can you talk just a little bit about your use of the image, or idea rather, of resurrection, bringing something back to life? On the surface, it seems obvious. Something is dead. You want to bring it back to life. You've chosen that rather than starting with something new, like a new birth.